Speaking of reliability, a podcast with good friends talking with you about reliability engineering topics. Welcome to Speaking of Reliability. This is Fred Schenkelberg.
And this is Dianna Dini.
Hey, Dianna.
Hi, Fred.
Hey. We're chatting a little bit, and in your work, in your background and stuff, have you worked on the customer service side of a product or worked with the customer service side of a product?
I have, back to an internship days.
You got a lot of cool internship projects.
I really did. And one of them was with marketing department because I just wanted that kind of experience.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the manufacturing floor for a lot. So what was it like in marketing?
It's cleaner.
So it is, office work and cleaner. So I did run a customer service survey for them to gain some insights about their product and reported it on them. So that was interesting.
Yeah, well, we won't get into the details of what you found or name the company kind of thing.
No, let's not do that.
No, what piqued me about this topic is from my own experience working in companies and then also just at trying to solve problems at home or, in general. And it's one of the things that Kirk often talks about is, when we call as engineers, we call customer service, we often know way more than the person we're talking to. And not all the time. Some companies have the design engineer or somebody very knowledgeable about their product or system answer the phone. And too many, though, have somebody reading a script.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. There's a script that they're following.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, my favorite by far, and this hopefully won't turn into a rant, is we had a branch fall across our cable line. And I think it was DSL or it was cable. I don't remember. Whatever it was connecting to the house, the internet was down. And I called and said, a branch fell and broke the wire connecting the house to the pole. And we need one of your service trucks to come out and reattach us. Well, sir, have you tried restarting your modem?
No.
No, because the cable pulled it through the wall and it's just a pile of ash right now. Can I send you a picture? I know what the problem is. Well, sir, I can't see your modem from here. Well, let me explain why that might be. The cable is not connected to it.
Oh, but I think part of the problem is we are engineers. So we have a problem and then we start troubleshooting and start to try to fix it. So by the time we call customer service, we're already, 3/4 through the check sheet questionnaire that they ask.
Well, every now and then, I've called, and it's usually a computer related issue of some sort as I call, and I explain the problem and I hear either a sigh of, oh, it's one of these engineers, or I hear well, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. Let me approach it this way. Instead of saying, hey, move your cursor to the left and up here and do that and read the script. Have you tried looking at blah, blah, blah in some technical term? Oh, yeah. And then we get into it. And it really depends on how much flexibility the person you're talking to has and how much knowledge they have in part of it. I think, some of it is we're so deep into the problem already and troubleshooting it. That we're beyond the script, and that throws some service agents off because they're being monitored for following the script, which is that one always bugged me. But here's the real issue. I mean, there's all this variability of when you call a company, whether you're within a company, you're trying to call a vendor and get something troubleshot or solved, or you have a failure of some sort, and you need some insights, or you're troubleshooting a problem at home or wherever. At some point, we got to call customer service. But how do you do the problem-solving techniques like 8D, right, or other techniques for root cause analysis type stuff over the phone with somebody that has a very narrow funnel of what you know about the problem?
Oh boy.
There's that sigh again. See,
So
I did
so
it again.
there's yeah, there's two things. Well, like you mentioned, the customer service agent might throw out a technical question. If you acknowledge you know what it's about, then they know to go in that direction with you.
If they
Or
have
maybe
permission.
yeah, right. Or if not, so that's the customer service agent getting to know the customer, what their capabilities are for
Hmm.
helping to fix the problem on their end. But yeah, then that's the opposite problem too. If we're the customer calling in with the customer service agent, we kind of have to judge how far they're going to be able to take us without really knowing their system.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's to be fair, is you have to understand that they may be very constrained of what they're permitted to do or not do, and so on, which usually is not a good sign. Hence that uh, cable down discussion. I actually did send her a picture. I put little pieces of paper that look like sparks off the end of it. Hopefully, it would motivate her to get somebody out there quicker. It's a cable line, so it's low voltage. It's not sparking, but it
Yeah.
made it look like it was sparking. Dagger lightning bolts coming off of it. It didn't help.
Yeah, I don't think that might have hurt you.
Yeah. So, but recently, I ran into an experience where, and I talked about it with Kirk a couple weeks or on a previous episode briefly, but the issue is that I ran into a problem. Something wasn't working that typically just worked. And then it was like magic. It just worked. I didn't have to think about it. And it didn't work. And I'm troubleshooting and I'm at the point where I'm out of ideas. So there were 4 entities involved with this that, and without getting into the details of it, but 4 different systems have to work together in order for the results to occur. And I hesitated calling one of them because I knew the customer support there was just going to say, well, it's not our problem. It's one of the
Yeah.
other 3. And they did. Eventually, they told me that. And then said that the other one they gave me was, oh, we know about that problem now. And it's isolated to unique circumstances. And there's a software update coming that said sometime in the future that might take care of it. Well, that doesn't solve the problem today. So the idea of brainstorming was just beyond these folks for whatever. But another group that ended up having absolutely nothing to do with the problem whatsoever, of the source of the issue, was the one that helped me actually figure out what the root cause was. They asked the sequence of questions to help me frame the problem because they had more knowledge about the inner workings of these systems than I did. So they had a perspective that I'll ask the right questions so that I could work with the other 3 agencies and on my own system to figure out where the root cause most likely was. But I don't know why that isn't natural. And if the other agencies can't do that for me, how can I help them do that? That's where I ran into a dilemma or frustration over the last couple of days trying to solve this particular problem.
No, I guess I had a similar problem recently where, yeah, there was something that I was trying to get 3 to 4 things working together. And I tried the customer service for the one, and they pointed, same exact story. But there was one in the middle that they they told me outright what their limits were.
Mm-hmm.
They said, we can help you with these things or guide you, but we can't do X, Y, and Z. You'll have to do that yourself.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's okay, because they're telling me their limits of how far they can take me, but they did help me as far as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And, showed me things so that at least I could take that and do the next step with wherever I needed to do next, or talk to the next, customer service agent. I had more information instead of just leaving me hanging.
Right.
So it was nice because I felt like I had a partner in trying to help solve my problem. And that made me think they had really good customer service, even though they weren't the ones to solve my problem.
Right. Right. No, I agree. It was just a switch in the ones is a pet peeve of mine is, oh, I'm here to help you solve that problem. and then they have no idea what they're talking about, and at the end of the day say, well, that file doesn't exist on our system, so that's not our problem.
So their heart's in the right place, but they don't have the tools.
Right. Or it was just a script that they got, and because every time you call them, you get the exact same phrasing. So like, this doesn't seem genuine anymore. But years and years ago, I had a phone that I used a jack for a headset, right? It wasn't Bluetooth or wireless. And matter of fact, I still use a jack for a headset. I'm still tethered to my phone when I'm on it. But the plug inside the phone would fail. And knowing how these circuits worked and what kind of things, how they're connected and so on, it's not hard to imagine that if you are plugging and unplugging a headset jack into a phone on a regular basis and traveling with it in your briefcase or with the jack still in there, it's getting lots of forces. And so eventually it just broke the solder joints right off the circuit board. Well, I had 3 of those happen in a year. And of course the warranty covered them all, and they sent me out new phones each time. And I said, do you guys track failures and why things occur and why?
You put on your consulting hat.
I put on my reliability hat and said, you know, this is costing you a lot of money to, can I, tell you how sir, we don't collect that information, and this kind of thing. I'm like, do you talk to your engineering team at all about how things fail? Oh, I don't know. I don't think we do. It just goes up as a big number for how much money we're spending. It's kind of,
Yeah, that's a problem, right? It's just the silos with customer service. There's the whole team on the back end. Customer service might be the one that's dealing with the complaint, but then there's a whole team of people behind them, from engineering and manufacturing and marketing, that should all be looking at the trends, right?
Well, in some companies, there's key phrasing or words or triggers that say, oh, we're going to give you a return authorization. We'll ship you out a new part or a new product or whatever right away. Let's get this solved, in order for them to get the product back so they can troubleshoot it and, diagnose it and figure out what it is. But it just seems that some groups inherently want to know, what was the environment? What's the symptoms? What's the nature of the problem? Let's start that process of identifying the problem. Or, I always think of it as the first step is to put the police tape around it and not disturb the scene. Let's get the information first. But so many agents are just going, have you tried rebooting? Okay, well, that doesn't work. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's sometimes, in order to get the right fix, well, like you said, they're listening for certain keywords. And the immediate fix is to send you a new phone.
Right.
But now you're a customer here that's had 3 new phones in the last year, which is it's sort of a big deal, because you've got your data on there and you got to wait for your new phone, and this is a problem for you. So sending you a new phone all the time isn't fixing the problem for you.
No. And it's cost them, I got equivalent of 3 phones for the price of 1, and phone calls.
See, I would rather just have the same phone all year and not have to get a new one because of the hassle.
Oh, I know. And I fully imagine that agent was, let's satisfy the customer and get him back into using the feature. You've been able to plug in a headset to this thing, and get him a phone that works. And that is what they defined as solving the problem. But when we sit on the other side of that fence and we're behind the customer service, behind them and not on the customer side, it's, well, did you ask them about what are they plugging into this thing? How are they storing it? What's the symptoms and environment around that, so that when we get this phone back and this jack is mangled, the connector is ripped off the circuit board, we got nothing to sort this out, right? We don't. Where it's part of that problem solving part is, well, what's the environment? What's the scenarios? What's the conditions? And asking just a handful of the right questions gives you so much more information that when we're sitting on the other side and trying to figure out how to make a better product or solve this particular issue, we have some information to work with. But that seems at odds with some customer service organizations where they're just turnaround time, get you off the phone and make you happy, whatever, give you a new phone, this kind of scenario.
Yeah, well, it's thinking about the engineering team or the reliability engineering team as sort of a customer of the customer service department.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to collect the data in order for the engineers to help look at it. But then again, on the other hand, engineers need to be communicating to customer service what type of information they want tracked or recorded,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe how they want things to be categorized or bucketed for trends. And I think there's a responsibility there from engineering to communicate with that team, because that team's going to have to use some sort of a complaint handling system, and they're going to have to enter codes
Yep.
and group things in order to just keep track of them. So I think it would be worthwhile for the engineers to spend time to figure out, just a little bit of time to figure out how their systems work, and then work with them to develop something that they can use on the back end too.
Oh, I totally agree. And I also have found that it usually takes, there in most organizations I worked with where it's like, oh, you got field data? Let's go find it. What a pain. There are 4 variations of databases away, basically, not just in the next building. They're scattered all over the country or over the world, and they're using incompatible systems. And who wrote this script? What are you trying to get from people? And then there's just the silo of, turnaround time, calls per hour kind of metrics on the call service people. So they don't really have the permission to spend time with them. But just even getting the data, much less feeding it forward. One place we did is it was a really simple fix that everybody agreed would work, was when we launched the product. The first 100 phone calls we got that there was some physically wrong with the product. There was a little bit of troubleshooting to sort out whether it was just how to use the product. So you get calls like, "So where's the on button?" Which became a different problem we ended up having to figure out, because if the number one call is, "How do I turn this on?" then there's something wrong with the design.
Well, in the 90s, I had problems figuring out how to turn on the Apple computer because the IBM lab was just full.
Yeah.
So I'll admit I had that problem.
Oh, I agree. I remember when Carly Fiorina, I've never been able to pronounce her last name, when she became the CEO of HP. Whenever she was there for a couple months and was talking to all these different groups, and one of her first presentations to the employees was, why is it that we have, 4,000 different computer systems, from servers and supercomputers to laptops and everything in between. But just in laptops, we have 18 different ways to turn the thing on and off. Why, why can't we put the on off button on the right side, right there all the time? Something like that. And it was this outside perspective of, for each individual product, it was left to the designer. Where's the power supply? What's the routing constraints? And they each solved it a different way. But she looked at it from the customer's point of view, going, when you go to an Apple, it's on the back left of the monitor on the iMacs. It's always there. Every version of it. But anyway, part of the, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so your complaints, and you were gathering the first 100.
Oh yeah. And the idea is that instead of waiting till we got, enough complaints in a Pareto that said the power supplies were the number one source, let's get some power supplies back and troubleshoot them. Let's get the first 100 back of any complaints and tear them down and figure out exactly what the problem was and sort out what was the source of, do the root cause. And we actually had dedicated teams from the design team that were carried over during the first 6 months of the launch to do that. And so very educated people about that design, looking for those nuances. And sometimes they'd find stuff that wasn't even related to the complaint that wasn't right, and implementing fixes and changes to it. And the intention was to get catch all those things we didn't quite finish in the design as quick as possible.
Sure.
Rather than the typical process we had was the customer service would tally all this stuff up, and then they'd say, oh, the power supply is your biggest Pareto. And that would be after a year, right? Well, we've already finished production for that year's model. There's no opportunity to fix that for the current year. So we shifted it further up. And I've tried explaining it to customer service folks. I can't imagine I'm the only person with this problem. Would you like to learn a little bit more, or could you put me in touch with somebody that can help engineer a solution for this? And sometimes that works in smaller companies in particular. In larger companies where it's an outsourced customer service center, it says, well, that's not our charter. That's not what we do.
Yeah. Sometimes, if it's too big, you can't take on the whole system. But maybe for the design that you're working on, you can maybe help devise or plan out field monitoring for the product that you're working on now.
One idea I've read about and I've seen used successfully was that, during the design process, we often think of what's critical to quality, and it goes into specifications and it's things we monitor in production, or, it gets used in that realm as a technique, is forward that same information to this customer service group. These are the areas we expect problems to be, and these are the kinds of symptoms you might experience customers mentioning or complaining about, and then crafting ways for them to sort that out. And what we found with that particular group is that customers responded to customer service agents that said, oh, it sounds like you've got this XYZ problem. Here's what we can do. Here's our 3 options, as opposed to, oh, we've never heard of that before. Oh, that sounds like this is the first time I've heard about it. It must be your problem, not ours. Or the other standard answers where we just don't know.
That's a good idea, because that's empowering the customer service team with information that could be useful for the customer.
Right.
And I was involved in a project where, it was a product that had been in the field for a while, but we were doing some updates with the systems and, looking at field data. So I bridged the product development risk management people, and there was an FMEA involved.
Mm-hmm.
And the complaint people, and got them to talk together, and the engineers wanted the complaints to be logged or captured, or certain questions to be answered to help them identify the root cause of the things that they were seeing in the field, to be able to categorize them properly for trending.
Right.
And so that was on the other end, the back end. So the complaint people liked having that information because they want something to happen with that information. They want people to use it and make things better so they get less calls. And the engineering team appreciated having more granularity to the information they were getting from the complaint people. They could relate it back to the FMEAs or do a quicker root cause analysis to fix the customer's problem. So those are 2 ways that, working backwards and then working forward to the customer too.
Yeah. And it's it's just closing the loop. Is why are we collecting this data? How is it being used? And then seeing the progress of that just reinforces it. So that's always good.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just doomed anytime I call customer service. I expect too much. Maybe that's the problem. I expect miracles that they know exactly, oh, push this button and twirl that knob and you'll be fine. I'm like,
I had to call a customer service person yesterday for something, and they were helpful and they helped solve the problem. But I told them the problem, but then they started telling me all about their internal systems. Well, I got to talk to Joe down here at this department and we work out something with, Mary over here. And I thought, I really don't need to know that. But,
Right.
I would patiently listen.
Yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate
So
that.
is this going to happen? Yeah, we can do that within the next 24 hours. I'd say, great. Yeah, it sounds good.
Well, next time we talk, we'll have to see if that actually turned out. If you got, all these
It
different
did.
people.
Yeah.
Okay, it did.
Yeah, it all worked out.
All right. Now so if you're listening to this, you got a customer service call coming up. Well, good luck. Hopefully you get a good agent. Sometimes, providing information and helping them understand how they can help improve their product is going to work. And sometimes it just isn't. And I don't know what to do about when it just isn't. But helping folks understand the basic root cause analysis process or asking the right questions. And when you run into somebody that follows those things, support them, gather that information, run that log for them, or, do whatever to help them troubleshoot and diagnose the problem so they can help you solve the problem. But it goes all kinds of ways. But if you've got a cable line down, laying in your yard, not connected to your house anymore, restart your modem. Apparently that's the first step that you have to do.
And then turn it off and on again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take the power cord out for 30 seconds and plug it in. But anyway, if you've got a story with customer service or a question or a comment for us that you'd like us to talk about or to think about, let us know. Head over to accendoreliability.com/go/SOR, and you can find a way to leave us a voice message or a written message. Dianna and I and the others hosts of the show are on LinkedIn and about pages on Accendo. So there's plenty of ways for you to join the conversation, and we'd sure like to hear from you. So with that, Dianna, I'm going to see if I can avoid calling customer service today and see how it goes.
I hope you have no problems, that everything goes well.
Well, not if I'm working, then it's...
You're going to find something, huh?
Yeah, maybe I'll go for a walk instead, not take my phone. Oh, wish me luck.
Good luck.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Dianna.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Speaking of Reliability. We invite you to join the conversation. If you have a question or a topic that you think we should discuss in a future show, please let us know. You can find a comment box below the episode show notes, or just leave a note as part of a review on iTunes.